Hey guys, so today we're going back a little bit further. We're going back 602 years to 1421 when King Henry VI of England was born in Windsor, Berkshire. We are going to jump 113 years to 1534 when Sebastian de Balcazar, under the authority of Francisco Pizarro, occupied the Indian city of Quito in what is now Ecuador. We are jumping 331 years to 1865 when Georgia became the 27th U.S. state to ratify the 13th Amendment, which abolished slavery. We are jumping 33 years to 1898 when photographer Alfred Eisenstadt, whose images, many of them for Life magazine, established him as one of the first and most important photojournalists, was born in Durkhesto, West Prussia, which is now a city in Poland. I'm not going to attempt to pronounce the city. We are now going to jump 9 years to 1907, when an explosion in a coal mine in Monongahela, West Virginia, killed more than 350 people, and many of them were young boys. We are going to jump 5 years to when Finland declared itself independent from Russia following the Bolshevik Revolution. Then we jump another 4 years to 1921 when the Irish Free State was established. The British government and the Irish leaders Arthur Griffith, Michael Collins, and others signed the Anglo-Irish Treaty, establishing the Irish Free State as an independent member of the British Commonwealth on this day in 1921. Then we jump 12 years to 1933, and what was considered the landmark ruling of the U.S. federal judge held that James Joyce Ulysses was not obscene, thus allowing the greater freedom and liberty in Liberty Works. That was pretty much a landmark case in the judicial system that happened in the early 1930s. Then we jump 4 years to 1937 when the first sitting of the federal court in India was held in New Delhi. This was the first central judicial culture to exist in the Indian Empire. Then we jump 5 years to 1942 when the Secretary of Agriculture, Whitworth, was named Food Administrator by President Franklin D. Roosevelt. We then jump 27 years to 1969 when violence at the Altamont Rock Festival in Livermore, California, climaxed during the Rolling Stones' appearance when a concertgoer was fatally stabbed by a member of the Hells Angels motorcycle gang, which been hired as security. And I'm not saying that all motorcycle gangs are bad or evil or whatever, but this is one example of the bad side of a motorcycle gang. Now, there are some positive sides of motorcycle gangs, but like a lot of things, you hear more bad than good. Let's move on to something positive and fast forward 4 years when Gerald R. Ford was sworn in as Vice President of the United States, succeeding Spiro T. Agnew, who had resigned. Kind of positive? Let's jump 19 years to 1992 when the Barbary Maju and Idaho, I don't know how to pronounce this, was destroyed by the Hindu fundamentalist leading the Hindu-Muslim riots through India. The same year, thousands of militant Hindus defying an order of India's Supreme Court, totally destroying the 16th century Baria Mesquite in a city in Uttar Pradesh state during the sectarian riot that followed. More than 1,000 Muslims and Hindus were killed and scores of temples and mosques were damaged or destroyed, including some of the neighboring Palestine and Bangladesh. Prime Minister P. V. Naresh Ran deployed the mob action, calling it a betrayal of the nation and confrontation with the sacred that is sacred to all Indians, and as a legacy to which we have inherited as part of our national ethos. Not entirely sure what that means, but let's continue. Hindu revitalized from several political and religious groups had widely worshipped a Hindu deity. The chosen state said that the birthplace of Lord Rama was particularly occupied by Baria Mosque. In 1990, the attack on the same mosque had brought down the central government. On December 27th, the government announced that it would acquire the disputed land and build both a mosque and a temple on the site to ensure that the balance of both communities is maintained, which is smart in its own right, because if you have two groups, religious groups competing, and they are set out to destroy the other's church, if you will, whether it's a temple, a church, a mosque, whatever their religious house is, it's never good to have just one, because then you would have the other pissed off. The other ticked. I'm sorry. Now, let's jump 4 years to 1996, when Mashonaland defeated England in the first class tour match, which I had to look it up to find out what it was, because I had no idea what it was. And it turns out it's a cricket game, which actually is surprising because a lot of what England does is cricket. Let's jump 2 years to 1998, when playing in Milan, Italy, Sweden defeats Italy in 4 matches to 1 to win the Davis Cup, a men's professional tennis championship for the second year in a row. Now let's jump 5 years to 2003, when the U.S. Embassy staff in Riyadh were warned to remain in diplomatic quarters, as Saudi Arabia released the names and photos of its most wanted terrorists. Now let's jump 3 years to when NASA released images taken by Mars Global Surveyor that indicated the relatively recent presence of water on Mars. Told you that there was something that was taken by the Mars exploration about relatively recent water on Mars. But until next video,